The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
Hey, it's Elahe Izadi, co-host of Post Reports and the Friday Campaign Moment Roundtables. Aaron Blake and many other colleagues at The Washington Post are digging into the implications of Sunday's stunning announcement. President Biden has decided to step aside and won't run for re-election. Right now, though, in case you don't already follow our other show, Post Reports, I wanted to share with you a conversation I just taped with White House reporter Tyler Pager. And of course, we will have full ongoing coverage at WashingtonPost.com. Okay, here's that Post Reports episode for you, and stick around for more analysis here as the week goes on. President Biden is no longer running for re-election. On Sunday afternoon, Biden released a statement saying that he's decided not to accept the Democratic nomination in 2024. He said he would finish out his term and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to lead the Democratic ticket.
He put out a letter on X, social media, talking about his record and then saying, "It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term."
That's White House reporter Tyler Pager reading out part of Biden's statement. Tyler has been reporting on the president who currently has COVID.
Which is just also puts into perspective this whole moment. His political career is ending as we believe he is isolating in his beach house in Rehoboth, Delaware.
This is the first time in more than 50 years, since Lyndon B. Johnson, that an incumbent president has dropped out of a re-election bid. And no incumbent president has ever dropped out this close to the election. The election is now less than 4 months away, and no one can know for certain what is going to happen next.
But it is a remarkable moment in American politics, just given how quickly this all changed. Less than a month ago, there was no real energy in the leadership of the Democratic Party to make any change. And then many of us watched that debate performance on June 27th in Atlanta. I was actually in the debate studio for some of it with Joe Biden as the pool reporter. And from then, it's just been a downhill descent and really just a remarkable moment that the man who is running for president, the sitting president of the United States, has decided to withdraw. Really just, it's truly a remarkable moment in our country's history.
From the newsroom of The Washington Post, this is Post Reports. I'm Elahe Izadi. It's Sunday, July 21st. Today, we're bringing you special coverage of a historic event, President Biden's decision to drop out of the presidential race. This is a fast-moving story, and we'll have more updates, coverage, and analysis about what this all means. But today, we're talking with Tyler about what just happened with this monumental decision by the president and what happens next. So, Tyler, right now, you and I are talking shortly after 3 o'clock, around 3:30 p.m. on Sunday. And I know there's still so much more to unpack and report on to understand exactly what happened here. At this moment in time, what do we know about why Biden right now decided to drop out of the race?
I mean, I think we will get a lot more clarity on that in the coming days. And over the last few weeks, we've seen the president give evolving answers on what it would take for him to drop out of the race.
If there had some medical condition that emerged, if the doctors came to me and said, you got this problem, that problem. But I made a serious mistake in the whole debate. And look, when I originally ran, you may remember it, I said I was going to be a transitional candidate. And I thought that I'd be able to move from this, just pass it on to someone else. But I didn't anticipate things getting so divided.
And with politicians, they're always very defiant and absolutist about the fact that they won't drop out until they do. I mean, yesterday, the president's campaign was saying he will be back on the campaign trail next week once he's better from COVID. They were scheduling fundraisers, announcing new events. So this was all, everyone was working as if he wasn't dropping out until the second he announced. But in terms of what we know, I mean, there's a few things that I think are important to note. One of the things that we started to see is party leaders, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, Barack Obama, not directly to Biden, but to allies, warning that Biden's continued candidacy would not only mean a likely Trump reelection, but imperiling the ability for Democrats down ballot running for Senate and House races, that they would be impacted and potentially lose as well. And this big fear among the Democratic Party that not only could Trump win, but Republicans would control the Senate and the House. Democrats feel optimistic about retaking control of the House. And so there was great fear that Biden's continued candidacy would impact that.
And that would be hugely consequential, because if Trump wins, he still would need to face dealing with Congress. But if Democrats control some of it, then maybe all of his agenda wouldn't be enacted.
Yeah, the House would be, from the Democrats' perspective, a bulwark against the Trump presidency. So I think that was a huge thing, the political landscape, but also the fundraising landscape. I mean, donors were withholding funding, not just to his campaign and the Democratic National Committee, but also to the super PACs and the other outside organizations that were supporting Biden. I think, Biden still believes he's probably the best person to defeat Donald Trump. He's long believed that. That's why he decided to run for re-election in the first place. That's why he decided to run in 2020, feeling that Donald Trump represented an existential threat to American democracy. And I think there's a psychology about Joe Biden that's really important to understand here. In 2015, at the end of Barack Obama's second term, Biden was seriously considering running for president. He saw Donald Trump rising, and he felt that he could beat him. Ultimately, Obama and other Democratic leaders strongly encouraged Biden not to run. Obama even dispatched one of his top aides to show Biden polling data that would show Hillary Clinton had a better chance of defeating Donald Trump. Also, Biden was dealing with personal tragedy in the death of his son, Beau Biden, from brain cancer. And so Biden ultimately decided not to run.
As my family and I have worked through the grieving process, I've said all along, what I've said time and again to others, that it may very well be that process, by the time we get through it, closes the window on mounting a realistic campaign for president, that it might close. I've concluded it has closed.
He has, since that day, very much regretted that decision, seeing the presidency of Donald Trump and feeling that he could have won then. He felt vindicated in 2020 when he was not the favorite of the Democratic Party at first to win the nomination and then go on to win it and then defeat Donald Trump. He felt vindicated again in 2022, the midterms, when Democrats were expected to be blown out, lose control of the House and Senate, and they didn't. They lost control of the House, but only narrowly, and expanded their majority in the Senate. And so Biden has long felt that the political pundits, the press, the media are always against him and underestimate him. And that's a huge factor here. And I think that's part of why it took him a long time, in some Democrats' view, to come to this decision today.
Well, you describing his psychology, now I feel like I have a much better understanding of why it actually took him this long to make this decision. Because as you said, there was this growing chorus of Democrats warning him about this and calling him to not run. Let's get into when that started and why. So my recollection was, and when it came across my radar, was really ever since the debate in late June. Let's talk about, why exactly these Democrats were saying he's not going to do well against former President Donald Trump.
So I think it's important to take even a further step back and look at Joe Biden's candidacy from the beginning when he announced he was running for re-election. Joe Biden is already the oldest president. If he were to be reelected, he would be 86 at the end of his second term. And many voters had been raising concerns about his age well before the debate. And I think the debate was really a clarifying moment for a lot of people. Biden is not a gifted orator like Barack Obama was. He's not the sort of entertainment that Trump provides for many Republican voters. And so a lot of people just weren't tuning in to Joe Biden. And so I think the debate, which more than 50 million people watched, was really stunning for a lot of people.
And so, since the debate, there was the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump right before the Republican National Convention, which, we saw Republicans really unite around Trump. And at the same time, throughout that week, there was so much attention with all these Democrats coming out and saying that Biden should drop out. He's now dropped out. He has now endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris as the new Democratic candidate. So just the mechanics of this, just briefly, Tyler, what's next? How does she secure the nomination?
Yeah, there's some logistical hurdles that she will have to go through, and there's a whole process laid out in very intricate detail by the Democratic National Committee. But I think by and large, we are going to see the party and many of its leaders quickly unite behind Kamala Harris, in large part because they want to move past this episode. They want to get to a place where they display unity and avoid the chaos of an open convention. They want to unite behind a leader and move forward. And another thing is, should she secure the nomination, which we expect her to do, she'll have to vet and pick a vice presidential running mate too. So there's a lot of, logistical hurdles to get through in a very short and compressed timeline.
After the break, how Biden's decision could change the race, and whether it puts Democrats in a better or worse position to win. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Christina Quinn, the host of Try This from The Washington Post. Each Try This audio course gets you closer to solving some of the biggest everyday challenges we face as humans. Things like how to sleep better, how to have more meaningful relationships, and how to enjoy cooking more. We're releasing new courses all the time, where you can learn to be a better functioning human without the time commitment. Find our collection of courses by searching Try This wherever you listen to podcasts.
The living room is where you make life's most beautiful memories. But your sofa shouldn't be the one remembering them. The new life-resistant, high-performance furniture collection from Ashley is designed to withstand all the spills, slip-ups, and muddy paws that come with the best parts of life. Ashley high-performance sofas and recliners are soft, on-trend, and easy to clean. Shop the high-performance furniture in-store or online at ashley.com. Ashley, for the love of home.
Tyler, what more can you say about what a Kamala Harris campaign would look like?
Yeah, I think by and large, should Kamala secure the nomination, she will inherit much of the structure and organization that Joe Biden has built in Wilmington, Delaware. There's so many people that have been working full time for more than a year on his campaign. And the message is largely going to be the same, attacking Donald Trump, running on the record of the Biden-Harris administration. But I think we'll see a much more aggressive Kamala Harris out there. She has that prosecutorial background. I think one of the big questions is, will Donald Trump sit for a debate with her? Biden and Trump agreed to have another debate in September, but we'll see what happens with Vice President Harris. I can tell you that she was starting to do prep for her debate against Trump's running mate, J.D. Vance. So, that's another question. Who does Kamala Harris pick for her running mate if she gets the nomination? And does that person debate J.D. Vance? This just is such an unprecedented moment in such a compressed timeline. There are so many questions that need to be answered. And right now, there's a lot of people just trying to sort through the chaos of Joe Biden just stepped aside. That is right. An unbelievable thing that just happened in American politics. And now they need to, regroup, move forward, and also try to defeat Donald Trump on Election Day, which is just a few months away.
They're trying to do like 5 things at once, which normally you would just focus on the one thing.
Absolutely.
This sounds chaotic. If Harris does indeed become the candidate, what are some of the challenges that her candidacy and her campaign could face on the campaign trail?
I mean, look, the Trump campaign has already previewed the sorts of attacks they are going to run against Kamala Harris. Some of them are going to be centered around the idea that she covered up for Biden's age and was not honest with the American people about his ability to serve as president. They're also going to go in and attack her record. At the beginning of Joe Biden's presidency, she was in charge of the root causes of migration. The Trump campaign is going to say she's to blame for the crisis at the border and undocumented immigrants coming into the country. So I think they're going to both blame her for what they were blaming Biden on related to age, but also try to pick into her policy portfolio and attack her there. But she also needs to reset now and run at the top of the ticket. She did not have a largely successful 2020 presidential campaign when she ran in the Democratic primary, dropped out before any voting happened. And so she needs to put together a team. She has a small team on the Biden campaign that's devoted to her and just sort of restructure the campaign in her image. It's really, as you said, there is so much they need to do in a very short period of time. And that is part of why I do not think we will see the sort of open convention chaos that some people are pining for, because they just don't have the time to get all of those pieces in place.
I mean, the other question I just have about this is clearly President Biden thought, okay, well, she's going to be the strongest one to run against Trump. Tyler, does this actually put Democrats in a better position to beat Trump, or will this turn into, for the Democrats, calling for Biden to step aside, be careful what you ask for?
Depends who you ask. I think there's some longtime Biden supporters that are very upset and frustrated, irate, despondent about the situation, feeling Joe Biden was unfairly pushed out of the race. And yes, he did have a bad debate, but he was fully capable of recovering. And they do not think Kamala has a better chance of defeating Donald Trump. Now, others will say Kamala has a lot more room to grow. Americans were looking for change. And so Harris is a new option, a fresher face than Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who ran against each other in 2020. And Americans were telling pollsters and journalists that they did not want either of these two men to serve as president. But that's just a question we don't know. But we'll learn a lot in the coming days and weeks.
Has the Trump campaign come out today and said anything in response to Biden's announcement?
So the Trump campaign put out a statement saying that crooked Joe Biden is a complete fraud and disgrace to our country. Attacked him for his record, and then said, and during this entire term, Kamala Harris, as well as every other Democrat in Washington, sat by and did nothing. They continued, Kamala Harris is just as much of a joke as Biden is. Harris will be even worse for the people of our nation than Joe Biden. So as expected, they are tying Kamala Harris to Joe Biden and his record and arguing that she will be even worse than he was.
So, Tyler, I know we're catching you in such a busy moment. You have so much more to do. What will be the main storylines and the pieces of this that you're going to be paying attention to closely in the coming hours and days?
Yeah, I mean, there's two huge storylines. One is trying to get a better understanding of what exactly led to this moment, how Joe Biden decided to drop out, and what that looked like for him. And then two, how does the Democratic Party move forward? Do they quickly unite behind Kamala Harris? How does she navigate this moment in which Biden has endorsed her to be the nominee, but she still needs to win over the Democratic Party? Who does she pick for her vice presidential running mate? And how is she, as the top of the ticket, the Democratic nominee for president, should she secure it? She will be the first Black South Asian woman to serve as a major party's nominee. That's a historic moment in and of itself. And she could become the first female president. And so there's just so much pressure and there's so much at stake for her. And Democrats feel this is an existential moment in preventing Donald Trump from returning to the White House. And that could all fall on her shoulders.
Tyler, thanks so much for making time for us today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Tyler Pager is a White House reporter for The Post. Late Sunday afternoon, Vice President Harris released a statement praising President Biden and thanking him for his, quote, extraordinary leadership and decades of service to our country. She also said, quote, I am honored to have the president's endorsement, and my intention is to earn and win this nomination. As she called for campaign donations, she pledged to, quote, do everything in my power to unite the Democratic Party and unite our nation to defeat Donald Trump. That's it for Post Reports. Thanks for listening. If you want to show your support for the show, please subscribe to The Washington Post. It's a great way to back our work, and it also gives you unlimited access to all the news about this unprecedented moment. Today's show was produced by Ariel Plotnick and Sabby Robinson. It was mixed by Sean Carter and edited by Reena Flores. Thanks to Nick Bauman. I'm Elahe Izadi. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories from The Washington Post.
There's a lot happening these days, but I have just the thing to get you up to speed on what matters without taking too much of your time. The 7 from The Washington Post is a podcast that gives you the 7 most important and interesting stories, and we always try to save room for something fun. You get it all in about 7 minutes or less. I'm Hannah Jewell. I'll get you caught up with the 7 every weekday. So follow the 7 right now